Ladies and gentlemen, for weeks now, I've raved on this YouTube channel about the two possibilities, the two likely possibilities that I see for Bitcoin in the coming weeks. Scenario one is we bounce from right here and we continue to the upside, breaking all-time highs. And scenario two is we first recoup at around the $96,000 to $93,000 support region. There's so much support there coming from indicators like the bull market support band, for example, coming from indicators like the POC on the volume profile, coming from visual identification, and coming from the bottom of our current macro range in yellow, which, by the way, goes right back to the 2021 all-time highs. So there's lots of support in that price region. And as I said, the two possibilities, bouncing here or going down there first and then bouncing, does not include entering a bear market. I think a bear market is highly unlikely at this point in time due to the cyclical obligation Bitcoin has. 4-year cycle, the only thing that Bitcoin's ever known. It's existed since 2012 and has existed since the 1950s in traditional markets, is underpinning all of this price action, of course. And so unless that breaks, which is a possibility, it's just very unlikely, we will not be entering a bear market here without new highs first. So I think new highs are coming. The question is, do we go down or do we see them right from here? And on the short-term charts, we have a pretty interesting and pressing situation. Bitcoin coming upwards and retesting resistance on a local level, and Ethereum doing the same, breaking down from a ascending wedge formation, retesting that structure for resistance. And if we're going to see that pullback, it will probably start around now. So big questions remain there on the short-term charts and questions we can't really answer in this video yet. We don't have enough data yet. But what we can do is we can look forward further, rather than looking at what's going to happen this month on a local level. We can look forward to what will happen in the coming months until the end of the cycle. Where is the next step for Bitcoin? And I think there's a lot of data pointing towards the $130,000 price region for the next target on Bitcoin, potentially the top, but not certainly. So we'll look into that today. It's multi-layered analysis. It's something we've looked at a few times. First looked at it about 10 months ago here in this video, and we've looked at it a few times since, but I think it's more relevant than ever, given the fact that we're on the cusp, on the precipice of the potential next move. Before we get into it, just quickly here, Bybit, one of the biggest exchanges in the crypto market, was hacked recently. The biggest hack that ever occurred in crypto happened to Bybit, which was previously one of the most trustworthy exchanges. Binance is degrading in quality over time, more regulation, more regulatory concerns in general, and all of these old exchanges that previously were seen as the gold standard for exchanges are slowly kind of crumbling away, I think. And I think now more than ever is a time to reconsider what exchange you are on. That's why I'm bringing you Bitunix. Global non-KYC, never been hacked before. It's been on the market for 3 years. You can access it from anywhere in the world. There might be some regions you need a VPN from, but for the most part, it's globally accessible. And with my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life. I use this personally. It is my main exchange. Use that link down below if you want to get onto it. Help out the channel and help out yourself by using that link. Appreciate it, guys. Let's get into the content. So we discussed in the introduction the fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum, and hence most of the cryptocurrency market, are at pretty major deciding points in the short term as to whether they're going to go upwards from here or whether they're going to correct first before going upwards, and that will pretty much consume the price action for the coming weeks. As we've established on our YouTube community poll in the last day, the vast majority of the community is leaning bullish, and the vast majority of the community is hence looking ahead, and I think that gives us reason on this YouTube channel to look ahead as well, not because only we've covered everything we need to cover on the medium term, but also because it's very important to know what's going to happen next so you can plan efficiently. 4-year cycle is it's the gold standard. That's kind of a confusing word to use in a financial market because I'm not referring to the actual gold standard itself, economically speaking. I'm referring to the fact that it's the gold standard for future planning on Bitcoin because every single top and bottom on Bitcoin, historically speaking, has been estimated, has been predicted, has been plotted out by the 4-year cycle to a 100% accuracy rate. It's never failed before. The trend is your friend until it ends. It's a famous saying that exists in financial markets, and it very much applies to the 4-year cycle. Given all we know about Bitcoin rests within the cycle itself, even things that you wouldn't expect, right? Even short-term trends on Bitcoin that seemingly have nothing to do with the cycle have existed within the time period that the cycle has been around and therefore are inherently, indirectly part of the cycle. So the cycle, the strongest theme Bitcoin has, in a lot of ways, the only thing Bitcoin has, says we'll be topping out in about Q4 this year. Could that be wrong? Yes, it could be. But if it is wrong, it's completely unpredictable. So Q4 this year, probably around October, is where we're looking at the cycle ending. And for that reason, we have about 4 or 5 months left in the cycle, 4 or 5 months left for Bitcoin to make a next move to all-time highs and for altcoins, hopefully, to trigger an altcoin season. So where will that next move go to? Well, firstly, it will only start when $114,000 is broken, as that is the top of the macro range we are currently in. That goes right back to the 2017 bull market high, as you can see there. So $114,000 is the confirmation of the next move actually starting in the first place. But as to where that next move could go, I see a lot of data pointing towards 130,000. Now, let's be very clear. I'm not saying 130,000 is my prediction for the top. I'm saying that $130,000 is a very significant level that could be the top of the next move. Now, whether we see another move after that is a different question. And I don't have the answer to that question. It really depends on how long it takes to get to 130K in the first place in relation to when the cycle expects us to top. But what evidence do I have to suggest that 130,000 is a critical level in the first place? Well, I have an abundance of evidence. I have layers of evidence, and I'll show you that now. Firstly, we have, and this is in no particular order, an angle-based logarithmic channel on the log chart, okay? And what that means is that every single cycle, from top to top and from bottom to bottom, we can plot out an angle of appreciation in the Bitcoin chart. Again, from top to top and bottom to bottom, we can notice that cycle to cycle, that angle is roughly halving each time. It's done that on the tops, and it's done that on the bottoms. Here we have 59, okay, going through, we have 30, okay, so 30, obviously half of 59, half of 60, same thing. We could line it up perfectly and it shows us the exact numbers. 15 is half of 30, 7.5 is half of 15. On the top side, we have 28 or 26, 13 is half of 26, right? 6.5 is half of 13. So each cycle on tops and bottoms, the angle of appreciation, the angle of incline between those tops and bottoms is halving. If we extrapolate that forward until the end of this cycle, which is expected to be in November or October, right? That means the channel top, the top of this logarithmic regression channel here, is going to be at around $130,000. Our first piece of evidence that 130K is a critical level. Second piece of evidence comes from the power law chart on Bitcoin. The green line specifically on the power law chart is what I'm interested in. Let's zoom in here. And what you can see is that the green line on the power law chart is, by the way, you may have forgotten this, one of the only indicators, one of the only things we have in hindsight, but even at the time, that marked the top at 74,000 and showed us there was resistance at $74,000 back last year in March. There was nothing else showing that $74,000 was a major level except for this power law line. I don't remember any other indicator saying it, and I guarantee you, you probably don't remember either. We saw an 8 to 9 month consolidation from that rejection. We've come up again and we failed to break it in any meaningful manner. In fact, we came up and retested it just a week ago after retesting it in December and also in January. That green line is an incredibly important resistance zone that so far Bitcoin has failed to break. That green line at the end of the cycle in October will be at around $130,000. So another piece of evidence suggesting $130,000 is a major target. If not potentially the top price. We can't confirm that. I don't know, but it certainly is a major target. And thirdly, ignore the red channel here. Look at this white line specifically. Mentioned it so many times on this YouTube channel at this point. It's the a 13-year long, 14-year long actually now, ascending support and resistance line on Bitcoin that has cut across the Bitcoin price action. Historically, we've seen major reactions to this line, historically speaking. In fact, every time we come to it, we're basically reacting to it, whether it be a bounce, whether it be a rejection. We are reacting to it every single time, pretty much without fail. There have been a few fake outs, but even those, if you look into a local level or different time frames, you can see it's still remaining valid to some extent. We've currently flipped that line. We're retesting it for support as we speak here. But if we look at where that line will be in October, that line, just like the other two charts I showed you, will be at around $130,000 as well. So we just have three separate charts, all of which showing historical validity, and all of which going back years, in two of the cases going back to the origin of Bitcoin price action, showing that $130,000 around October is a level of interest to say the least. Furthermore, if we look at some more subjective stuff here, and this is probably less convincing, I have done speculative projections. I did these about a year ago now about where the cycle top could be. And I had two separate formulas, one of them predicting 103,000, one of them predicting 155,000. Just taking the median number between those two, we have 130,000. So another little grain of evidence there from formulas I created over a year ago saying 130,000 is a critical level. So again, now we have four separate indicators saying $130,000 is at least an area of interest. I'm not saying we're going to top there. I'm just saying it's certainly an area of interest. But the nuance here is that 130,000 being an area of interest based on these three logarithmic charts here, ignoring my formula for a second, it's only an area of interest at the exact cyclical deadline of October. So if we were to go to $130,000 right now, like today, it wouldn't be an area of interest because there would be no active resistance there currently. We would have already crushed all the active resistance. So if Bitcoin manages, for example, to start a move right now and skyrocket from right here, we would crush the resistance levels that suggest 130K is a problem in October now before we got to October and give Bitcoin a higher chance of going higher than 130,000 before October. However, if Bitcoin goes downwards here and corrects and takes out more time, it's losing time, at that point, the $130,000 top level becomes more likely because we have more ground to cover before we can get there, and it makes more sense for our resistance zones to stack up at 130,000 by October by the time we get there, if that makes sense. So just using the power law chart as an example, right? $130,000 on the power law chart is only a critical level in October. Right now, that exact same resistance is at 116, okay? So if we only get to that $130,000 level in October, it becomes incredibly likely that $130,000 will be the top, because we're only getting there at the cyclical deadline to begin with. But if we crush this green level at 116 in the next couple of weeks, 130,000 seems like a conservative target for by that point. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know how else I can explain it. It's just an inherently complicated concept, I suppose. But basically, in the next couple of weeks, even in the next week, heck, even in the next few days, it depends on what Bitcoin does here. If Bitcoin decides to break outwards in the next few days above 114, or the next week or two, we pretty much get a very good idea of whether Bitcoin will top below, at, or above 130. Breaking out above 114,000 this month will pretty much raise Bitcoin's odds of seeing a top above 130 dramatically, right? Whereas if we go downwards first and see a correction to 96,000, 93,000, and that takes another month, and then Bitcoin only breaks out in July, right? Then 130,000 seems like a very realistic estimate for the top. So all I'm saying here is that $130,000 is an area of interest, and it's something I'm going to keep my eye on very closely. And depending on how Bitcoin moves in the next couple of weeks, the probability of topping there or not will shift dramatically, and we'll keep you updated on that. So guys, I hope you found that interesting, and I hope this gives you a reason to stick around on the channel to see how we progress in relation to that $130,000 potential target. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, leave a like, comment, and also check out that Bitunix Exchange if you're interested. Again, exchanges are getting hacked left, right, and center. Previously, very good exchanges, gold standard exchanges like Binance are falling apart, quite frankly, under regulatory stress and pressure. And it's time to make a change, in my view. And that's why I personally made the change. I came over to Bitunix. It's global, non-KYC. It's never been hacked before. It's been on the market since 2021. It's growing in popularity by the day. And with my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount, as well as up to $8,000 in rewards. See that at the bottom of the screen right there. Check it out if you're interested, guys. Links are down below. I appreciate that. Have a good one, guys.